Back in Nigeria, where top officials of the Africa's energy sector says a just transition for the continent from fossil fuel to clean energy must be actively promoted by Africa's leading producers, such as Nigeria. And that was part of the conversations from panelists at the two-day Nigeria's International Energy Summit held this week in Abuja. Let's take a listen.
If there's one message I just want to get across to the audience, it is the need or the imperative of a second paradigm shift in the discourse on energy transition in Africa. For the last 50 years, from the last quarter of the last century to date, we've been inundated with energy transition. There's a global paradigm shift. The rich, the poor, the developed and underdeveloped countries have all come to accept that the world needs to move on, leave fossil fuels behind for renewable energies. And even those countries that are dependent on fossil fuels are saying the same thing. What we don't seem to say is that having accepted this global paradigm shift, the challenges that this paradigm shift has thrown to us, particularly on the African continent, in our effort to look for solutions to these challenges, we still go back to the traditional solutions. What we are saying in APO is that you can't succeed in addressing the challenges that today's energy transition poses to Africa if there isn't, or if you don't have a second paradigm shift. And that second paradigm shift is a paradigm shift in the search for the solutions to the challenges that have been thrown to us. Let me give you a quick example. I hope, so I haven't taken three minutes yet.
Please go ahead.
Basically what I'm saying is our industry people, our analysts, etc., when confronted with the challenges that energy transition has posed to the African continent, tell us that the solution, and I'm sure NJ will not be happy with me to hear this, is do more of the same thing. Make your environment a lot more, make your system a lot more investor friendly. Create room for foreigners to bring their monies. Reduce taxes, etc. Our position is those archaic thinking will never get us out of the solution. We have to begin to think out of the box. We have to begin to think outside of the ways we've been thinking for the last 100 years. The current global international order as constituted, which we look up to for the salvation of Africa, will not help us. It's very difficult to accept this because the elites in Africa believe that if you try to fight this system, you are fighting an unwinnable battle, and at the end of the day, some of the lifestyles that we have come to develop, we cannot get to sustain it. We should be ready to make the necessary sacrifice if we want to truly and fundamentally change the living conditions of the African people.
600 million, no access to electricity. 900 million, no access to clean cooking. Most of them women. But what it's been devoid of is hearing about our potential and opportunities, but then we have to start looking at solutions. Whether it is African solutions, whether it is global solutions, but it has to start looking at working towards that path, towards a sustainable energy future. I promised myself when I get to Nigeria, I wouldn't use those three words of freedom, drill, baby, drill. But then I think about it, we still need to be talking about drill, baby, drill. That is our path to a sustainable future. it is going to be very difficult to look at a country like this, to look at Nigeria and other African countries and not talk about drilling for natural gas or even drilling for oil. You are going to need natural gas to get us to that sustainable future. It might not be what you want to hear, but in your guts, you know I'm right. Why do we need gas? When you had a crisis in Europe, Europeans didn't turn to wind or solar. They turned to natural gas, and I saw a lot of them flying on airplanes, some of them who had not come to Nigeria for a long time. They came here looking for gas. That means that there is something very good and decent in a cleaner fossil fuel. And yes, Dr. Farouk, to get there, we still need to look at those enabling environment. And case in study is this country, where for 20 years we had a big stall on the Petroleum Industry Act. We saw rig counts going down, we saw investments drops, we saw deep water offshore exploration did not happen. That was a clear testament on when you lack that enabling environment to really drive it up. So it's sometimes we have to really challenge ourselves. And that challenge that we have to do to ourselves, it has to come from us. And Dr. Farouk, one of the most beautiful things you did, and I thank you for inviting me last year, was with you in May when you signed a partnership with Afreximbank to create that African Energy Bank. That's a good thing, but we need 200 of them. We don't just need one, we need 200. So thank you for that great work. But bigger than that, we also need to understand that those solutions to a just energy transition. By the way, I have a book out there. I don't know why you guys haven't bought my book. I'm still selling them $19.99 in the store.
We're going to hear more about the book.
Give me a minute, I'll finish. Okay. That just energy transition is going to be formed and done right here with us. So I tell you this, Superman is not coming to save us. Batman is not coming to save us. Wakanda Forever is a good movie, but the Black Panther is not coming. You would have to determine that path to a just energy transition, and it starts right here in Nigeria.